For thousands of years, the planet Illyrian had been considered one of the greatest wonders of the galaxy. Its enormous cities floated above endless crystal oceans, connected by invisible energy bridges that shimmered beneath the twin moons. Ancient towers reached toward the stars, carrying the memories of generations through artificial intelligence networks older than many civilizations. Every corner of Illyrian carried the proof that the Orales Empire had mastered science, space travel, and technologies that seemed impossible even to the most advanced human worlds. Yet inside the magnificent royal palace of Illyrian, there was a mystery that no machine, scientist, or historian could solve. Princess Serina, the daughter of Queen Elyndra, was known throughout the empire as the Silent Princess. She was not cruel, arrogant, or cold-hearted. In fact, those who truly knew her understood that she possessed one of the kindest souls in the palace. But whenever visitors arrived, whenever nobles attempted to speak with her, or whenever royal ceremonies required her presence, Serina would quietly disappear into the hidden corridors of the palace. She preferred ancient books over royal celebrations. She preferred studying forgotten alien languages over listening to endless political conversations. She preferred spending time with artificial intelligence systems because, according to her, machines complain less than politicians. That sentence had once caused a palace assistant robot to pause for 7 seconds while calculating whether it had been insulted. The robot eventually replied, "Princess, I am honored to be compared favorably against politicians. My confidence level has increased by 12%. Serina had laughed, only for a few seconds, but the guards outside her chamber had remembered that moment for years because hearing the princess laugh was almost as rare as discovering a new habitable planet. Serina looked almost human, but the Orales bloodline carried a unique difference. Her long, elegant ears extended slightly beyond her silver hair, a rare feature that represented an ancient connection to the first families of Illyrian. Her bright eyes carried a strange depth, as if she was always seeing something beyond the visible universe. Many believed she was simply quiet, but the truth was much more complicated. Serina was waiting for something she could not explain. Every night, after the palace lights dimmed and the stars covered Illyrian skies, she entered her private chamber and opened an old handwritten book. The pages were filled with drawings. The same face appeared again and again. A human man. No one knew who he was. The palace archives contained billions of records. The royal scientists searched every database connected to human civilizations. The empire's most advanced artificial intelligence systems scanned historical information from thousands of planets. Every result was the same: unknown. Queen Elyndra had discovered the drawings years earlier. As a mother, she was worried. As a queen, she was curious. She had asked Serina countless times who the man was, but her daughter always gave the same answer: "I don't know." And somehow, that answer made the mystery even stranger. How could someone draw a person perfectly without ever seeing them? The queen never forced her daughter to explain. She believed some secrets revealed themselves only when the universe was ready. But even Queen Elyndra could not have predicted what would happen on the day a human spacecraft arrived at Illyrian. The visitor was not a warrior, not a famous explorer, not a legendary commander. His name was Kael, and according to his official records, he was simply a human engineer assigned to repair an ancient communication system beneath the royal palace. When Kael stepped out of his small transport ship, he looked around the enormous landing platform and quietly said, "I was told this was a repair mission." Nobody mentioned the palace was bigger than an entire city. The nearest security drone scanned him. Human visitor detected. Probability of causing unexpected complications, 78%. Kael looked at the machine. "That feels a little unfair. I have only been here for 10 seconds. The drone remained silent. "Also," Kael added, "you should know that giving a person a percentage before they even enter a building is not exactly a friendly welcome." The drone processed his statement, adjusting probability. A short pause followed. Probability of causing unexpected complications, 82%. Kael stared at it. Somehow you made it worse. For the first time in months, one of the palace servants almost smiled during an official arrival ceremony. But nobody knew that this ordinary human engineer was about to become the center of the greatest mystery in Orali's history. As Kael walked through the royal corridors, surrounded by guards and ancient alien technology, a strange energy began spreading through the palace. Deep beneath the ground, inside a forgotten chamber sealed for centuries, an ancient machine suddenly awakened. Its lights flickered, its systems restarted, and a voice from a forgotten age whispered through the darkness. Connection restored. At that exact moment, Princess Serina was standing inside the royal hall. She felt something she had never felt before, a familiar presence, a face she had drawn thousands of times. Slowly, she turned toward the entrance. And when she saw the human walking through the palace doors, everything around her seemed to disappear. The guards stopped moving. The nobles stopped speaking. Even the ancient machines beneath the palace fell silent. Because the man standing before her was impossible. He was the stranger from her drawings. The person she had waited for without knowing why. And before anyone could understand what was happening, the princess who had avoided the entire galaxy for years took her first step toward him. The entire royal hall of Illyrian became completely silent. For generations, the Grand Hall had witnessed countless important events. Galactic ambassadors had entered through its enormous crystal doors. Ancient treaties had been signed beneath its floating energy pillars. Powerful warriors had stood before the throne after winning battles across distant star systems, but nothing had prepared anyone for what happened that day. Princess Serina, the daughter of Queen Elyndra, the woman who avoided almost every stranger she encountered, was walking directly toward a human engineer she had never met before. The nobles stared in disbelief. Some looked at Kael, some looked at Serina, some simply looked at each other, silently asking the same question. Is this actually happening? Kael himself was the most confused person in the entire room. He had entered the palace expecting broken machinery, complicated alien technology, and perhaps a few security questions. He had not expected the royal princess to approach him like she had been searching for him her entire life. As Serina stopped in front of him, Kael tried to say something intelligent. Nothing came out. His mind was too busy trying to understand why the most mysterious princess in the galaxy was looking at him with eyes filled with recognition. Finally, he managed to speak. "Hello." The entire hall remained silent. Kael looked around. "I know this is probably not the greatest royal greeting in history, but I usually start with hello before the dramatic moments." One of the palace guards lowered his weapon slightly, confused by the human's strange behavior. Princess Serina did not answer. She simply reached forward and hugged him. The reaction was immediate. Several nobles nearly dropped their holographic tablets. A security officer accidentally activated his helmet's emergency alarm because his system detected unexpected emotional activity. The helmet announced loudly, "Warning. Situation classified as extremely unusual. Recommended action, stare silently." The guard quickly turned off the alarm. "I was going to do that anyway," he whispered, but nobody paid attention to the small joke. Everyone was watching the princess, because Serina was holding the human as if she had finally found something she had lost long ago. Queen Elyndra stood from her throne. For a moment, even she could not hide her surprise. She had seen her daughter reject invitations from hundreds of nobles. She had watched Serina avoid conversations with powerful leaders from other planets. She had spent years wondering why her daughter kept drawing the face of an unknown human. And now that human was standing in front of her, alive, real, completely confused. After several long moments, Serina slowly stepped back. Her eyes remained fixed on Kael. "I knew you would come," she whispered. Kael blinked. "That is interesting because I did not know I was coming. The princess looked slightly confused. Kael quickly added, not emotionally. I mean literally. My mission schedule said I was repairing a communication device. Nobody mentioned becoming part of a mysterious royal event. A few servants nearby struggled to hide their smiles. Queen Elyndra finally approached them. Kael, she said calmly, you need to understand something. My daughter has been drawing your face for years. The human engineer froze. Excuse me. The queen signaled to a royal assistant. A small floating device appeared above the floor and projected dozens of images. They were drawings. Hundreds of them, thousands. Every single one showed the same person, Kael. Some drawings showed him standing beneath alien skies. Others showed him wearing strange armor. Some showed him beside ancient machines. In every image his face was exactly the same. The hall filled with whispers. This is impossible. The archives must be wrong. A human cannot appear in Orali's visions. Kael stared at the projections. I have many questions. He looked at Queen Elyndra. First question, why does your daughter have better artistic skills than me? Nobody expected that answer. Even Serina looked surprised. Kael pointed at one of the drawings. Look at the details. She even got my hair right. I spend 10 minutes every morning trying to make it look normal, and somehow a person who never met me did a better job. For the first time in years, Queen Elyndra smiled during a royal gathering. But the humor could not hide the impossible mystery. The royal scientists arrived moments later. They surrounded Kael with advanced scanning devices that analyzed his DNA, memories, and biological structure. The machines moved around him, releasing blue waves of energy. Kael looked uncomfortable. I have to ask, are these machines supposed to make that sound? A scientist looked at the scanner. No. A pause followed. That is concerning. Kael slowly stepped away. I appreciate the honesty, but I would prefer less concerning technology around me. The scientists continued their analysis. The results appeared above them. Human, ordinary human. No hidden modifications. No alien DNA. No artificial implants. Nothing unusual. The discovery confused everyone even more. If Kael was truly ordinary, then how had Princess Serina known his face for years? Then, deep beneath the palace, the ancient machine that had awakened earlier began sending a powerful energy signal. The entire building shook. Lights flickered across the royal hall. Ancient symbols appeared on the walls, glowing with forgotten technology. The palace AI immediately activated. Warning: ancient system restored. Everyone turned toward the floor. A hidden passage opened beneath the throne room, revealing a chamber that had remained sealed for thousands of years. The scientists rushed forward. Queen Elyndra looked at Kael and Serina. Something had been waiting beneath the palace. Something connected to him. As they entered the ancient chamber, a massive crystal structure awakened at its center. A forgotten message appeared in the air. The language was older than the empire itself. The translation system struggled for several seconds. Then the words became clear. The human who was promised has returned. Nobody spoke. Kael slowly looked at the message. Then he looked at the queen. I feel like this is the part where someone explains what is happening. Queen Elyndra stared at the ancient message. For the first time in centuries, the ruler of Illyrian had no answer, because the impossible had just become reality. And Princess Serina's mysterious drawings were no longer a mystery. They were a warning from the past. The ancient chamber beneath the royal palace had remained untouched for thousands of years. No living Oralis had ever entered its walls. No scientist had discovered its existence. No royal historian had recorded its location. It was a secret hidden beneath the heart of Illyrian, waiting silently beneath layers of crystal stone and forgotten technology. Now, for the first time in centuries, its lights awakened. The enormous chamber stretched deeper than anyone expected. Strange machines floated in the air without any visible support, connected by streams of golden energy. The walls were covered with symbols that changed every few seconds, as if the room itself was trying to remember a language it had almost forgotten. Kael walked slowly behind Queen Elyndra, Princess Serina, and the royal scientists. He looked around with curiosity. "So," he said quietly, "I came here to repair a communication device, and somehow I ended up inside an ancient alien mystery room." Nobody answered. Kael looked at the scientists. "Just checking, is this normal for palace engineers?" One scientist adjusted his holographic glasses. "No." A short silence followed. That answer came too quickly. The scientist looked away. "I have been studying ancient technology for 40 years. Usually, when something impossible happens, it takes us at least a few hours to admit it." Kael nodded. "That makes me feel slightly better." "It should not." Kael stopped walking. Why do scientists always say things that make people feel worse? Even Princess Serina quietly smiled. It was a small reaction, but Queen Elyndra noticed immediately. Her daughter was changing. Before Kael arrived, Serina would have remained silent during such a dangerous discovery. She would have watched from a distance, hiding her emotions behind a calm expression. Now, she was standing beside a human stranger and smiling. The queen could not ignore the importance of that. As the group reached the center of the chamber, the ancient crystal structure reacted to Kael's presence. The entire room trembled. A wave of energy moved through the walls, scanning him. The scientists immediately raised their devices. Energy response detected. Unknown frequency. Ancient systems are recognizing the human. Kael looked at Serina. "Is it strange that I am starting to feel like this room knows more about me than I do?" Serina looked at the glowing crystal. "It has been waiting for you." Kael stared at her. "That sentence is not making me feel safer." For a moment, nobody spoke. Then the crystal released a holographic image above them. A figure appeared. An ancient Orali's warrior. Beside her stood a human. The image was damaged, but everyone could clearly see the connection between them. They stood together in front of a massive fleet of spacecraft, surrounded by symbols representing unity between different civilizations. The scientists froze. Queen Elyndra stepped closer. "This cannot be possible." One of the researchers scanned the image. "The technology predates our oldest records." Another scientist looked at Kael, the human in the recording. He paused. "He resembles him." Everyone turned toward Kael. Kael raised both hands. "Before everyone starts looking at me like I have a secret hidden identity, I should say that I have no idea what is happening." The palace AI suddenly activated. Historical connection detected. A new message appeared. "Alliance incomplete. The final guardian has returned." The room became silent. Princess Serina looked at Kael. "The final guardian." Kael sighed. "I was hoping for a title with less responsibility." The princess tilted her head. "What title would you prefer?" He thought for a moment. "Maybe something simple, like person who fixes things." A scientist looked at him. "That is not a legendary title." "I know, that is why I like it." Despite the impossible situation, Serina laughed softly. The sound echoed through the ancient chamber. Queen Elyndra watched her daughter carefully. For years, she had worried that Serina was trapped by her visions. She feared that the drawings and dreams were isolating her from reality. But now she understood something different. Perhaps those visions had not trapped her daughter. Perhaps they had been guiding her. Later that day, the royal scientists began a complete investigation of Kael. Every database in the empire was searched. Every human record was examined. Every historical archive was opened. The results remained impossible. Kael was exactly what he claimed to be, a normal human engineer from Earth. He had no royal ancestry, no connection to ancient civilizations, no special abilities. His most impressive achievement before arriving on Illyrian was repairing a damaged exploration ship that had been considered impossible to fix. When the scientists reported this, one noble laughed. "A simple mechanic." Kael looked at him. "I prefer engineer." The noble smiled. "Does the difference matter?" Kael looked at the broken ancient machine behind them. "Yes." He pointed toward the technology that had been dead for thousands of years, apparently quite a lot. The room became quiet, because he was right. The person everyone underestimated had awakened the oldest technology in the Empire. But while the palace focused on Kael, another event was happening far beyond Illyrian. Deep in the empty regions of space, where abandoned planets drifted without signals, an ancient enemy detected the awakening energy. A massive spacecraft opened its eyes after centuries of silence. Inside, a dark figure watched the recording from Illyrian. The human has returned. The figure stood. The ancient alliance will rise again. Back on Illyrian, Kael looked at the stars through the palace windows, unaware that his arrival had already been noticed by enemies across the galaxy. Princess Serina stood beside him. For the first time, she was not looking at a drawing. She was looking at the real person she had waited for, but neither of them knew that the universe had just started a new chapter. And this time, the future would not be written by ancient machines. It would be written by their choices. The days following the awakening of the ancient chamber became the most unusual period in the history of the Orales Empire. The royal palace of Illyrian, which had always been a place of tradition and controlled silence, transformed into a center of scientific chaos. Researchers from hundreds of planets arrived through hyperspace gates, carrying advanced scanners, quantum analyzers, and artificial intelligence systems designed to uncover the mystery surrounding the human engineer. Kael quickly discovered that becoming the center of attention across an entire galaxy was much less enjoyable than he imagined. Every morning, when he left his assigned room, at least 10 scientists were waiting outside with different devices. One researcher scanned his hands, another scanned his eyes, a third scanned his shadow. Kael looked down at the scientist examining the ground. "Are you scanning my shadow?" The scientist nodded seriously. "Yes." "Why?" "We are checking if it has unusual properties." Kael looked at his shadow. "I have had this shadow for years. So far, it has only followed me around and occasionally made me look taller when the lighting is good." The scientist recorded something on his tablet. "Interesting. The human communicates with his shadow." Kael immediately pointed at the device. "Please do not write that down. Someone will eventually believe it." Despite the confusion surrounding him, Kael slowly became familiar with life inside the royal palace. And the most surprising change was Princess Serina. Before his arrival, she had spent most of her time alone. She walked through empty corridors, studied forgotten civilizations, and rarely joined royal gatherings. Now, she was constantly near him, not because she was ordered to protect him, not because of royal duty, because she wanted to understand him. They spent hours inside the ancient chamber, studying the mysterious technology that had awakened after Kael's arrival. Serina explained Orales' history to him while Kael explained human technology. Their conversations often confused everyone around them. One scientist listened carefully as Kael described Earth spacecraft. "So humans traveled through space using controlled explosions." Kael nodded, "Yes." The scientist looked terrified. "And you trusted this method?" Kael thought for a moment. "When you say it like that, it sounds much worse." Serina covered her smile. "You are saying your species entered space by creating powerful explosions underneath metal vehicles." Kael shrugged. "Technically, yes." The princess looked at the ancient alien spacecraft designs. "Your civilization is strange." Kael smiled. "You have no idea." For the first time in years, Serina began sharing parts of herself that she had hidden from everyone. She showed Kael the old notebook containing her drawings, thousands of pages, thousands of images, all of him. Kael carefully turned the pages, unable to hide his amazement. "You really drew all of these?" Serina nodded. "I did not know why." He looked at one drawing showing him standing beside an enormous alien structure. "You even predicted this place." "I saw it in my dreams." Kael became serious. "What exactly did you see?" Serina looked at the drawings. Stars disappearing, worlds becoming silent, A war that nobody remembered, and you standing beside me. Her voice became quieter, but I never knew if you were someone who would save us. She looked at him, or someone who would bring danger. Kael did not answer immediately, because deep inside he wondered the same thing. Meanwhile, Queen Elyndra faced increasing pressure from the royal council. Many nobles believed Kael was too dangerous. A human appearing from nowhere, connected to ancient technology, and recognized by forgotten systems was impossible to ignore. Some demanded that Kael be placed under permanent observation. Others wanted him removed from the palace entirely. During one council meeting, an elderly noble declared, "We cannot allow an unknown human to influence the future of our empire." Kael, who had accidentally entered the meeting while searching for a repair tool, stopped at the doorway. "Just to clarify, I am standing right here." The entire council turned. The noble looked embarrassed. Kael held up a small device. "I was looking for a screwdriver." A royal assistant whispered, "What is a screwdriver?" Kael looked at the ancient alien technology surrounding them. Honestly, at this point, it might be the most normal thing in this palace. Even Queen Elyndra struggled to hide her amusement, but the humor disappeared when the palace security system detected something unusual. A signal, a transmission from the edge of Orali's territory. The source was unknown. The message contained only a few words. "The Guardian has awakened." The royal intelligence immediately began analyzing the transmission. The results caused every screen in the palace to change. An ancient symbol appeared. A symbol that had not been seen for thousands of years. The symbol of the Void Dominion. A civilization believed to have disappeared after the ancient wars. Queen Elyndra stared at the symbol. "They are supposed to be gone." The chief scientist shook his head. They were hidden. The room became silent. The ancient enemy had not been destroyed. They had been waiting, and now they knew Kael was alive. Far beyond the borders of Illyrian, enormous warships moved through the darkness of space. Their technology was older than the Empire itself, but their weapons remained powerful. The leader of the fleet watched Kael's image appear on a holographic screen. "The final piece has returned." The figure smiled. "The galaxy will remember its true rulers." Back inside the palace, Kael stood beside Serina as alarms echoed through the corridors. He looked at the princess. "So, just making sure I understand everything." Serina looked at him. "What?" "I came here to repair one machine." She nodded, "Yes. And now an ancient enemy is returning because of me." "Yes," Kael sighed. "Next time I accept a repair job, I am asking if the machine has any universe-changing consequences." For the first time during the crisis, Serina smiled. But beyond the palace walls, the stars were already changing. The forgotten war was returning. And this time, humanity would not be watching from a distance. Humanity had a place in the center of it. The arrival of the Void Dominion changed everything on Illyrian. For thousands of years, the Orali's empire had believed that the greatest threats in the galaxy belonged to the past. Ancient wars were studied only in history lessons. Forgotten enemies existed only inside old records and damaged holographic archives. But now the impossible had returned. Beyond the edge of the solar system, massive spacecraft moved through the darkness. Their ships were unlike anything the modern galaxy had seen. They carried technology that appeared primitive compared to current designs, yet their energy systems were powerful enough to make entire planets tremble. The first warning reached the royal palace at dawn. The sky above Illyrian darkened as thousands of artificial satellites detected the approaching fleet. Inside the command chamber, Queen Elyndra stood before a giant holographic map displaying the enemy's movement. The military commanders looked prepared for war. The scientists looked terrified, and Kael looked at the hologram with a confused expression. "So those are the ships coming to destroy us?" The commander nodded, "Yes." Kael stared at the enormous fleet. "They look expensive." Everyone turned toward him. Kael quickly raised his hands. "I mean, Obviously, they are dangerous. I am just saying someone spent a lot of resources building all those. One soldier looked at another. Is this human calmness? The other soldier shook his head. I think this is human confusion. Kael accepted that explanation. For the first time in centuries, the Orales Empire prepared for a battle that could decide the future of the galaxy. But while the armies prepared their weapons, Kael and Princess Serina returned to the ancient chamber beneath the palace. The old technology was still active. The crystal structure continued to send signals through space, and scientists believed it was connected to the ancient alliance that once united humans and Orales. Serina stood beside the glowing machine. The Void Dominion knows you are here because this system awakened. Kael examined the ancient symbols. So technically, I woke up an ancient enemy. Serina nodded. That appears to be true. Kael looked uncomfortable. I would like to apologize to the galaxy. The princess looked at him. For what? For accidentally starting a war before even learning where the cafeteria is. For a brief moment, Serina laughed. The sound surprised even herself, but the moment disappeared quickly when the ancient system activated again. A holographic recording appeared. This time, the image was clearer. An ancient human stood beside an Orales queen. The two figures looked toward a massive battlefield filled with enemy ships. A voice from the recording spoke. The Void Dominion cannot be defeated by strength alone. They grow stronger when civilizations divide. The message continued. The alliance was never created by warriors. It was created by those willing to understand each other. The recording ended. The scientists immediately analyzed the message. The system is not searching for a warrior, one scientist said. Queen Elyndra looked at Kael. It was searching for someone who could restore the alliance. Kael became silent. For the first time, he realized this was bigger than a strange coincidence. The ancient technology had not chosen him because he was powerful. It had chosen him because he was different. Human. Someone who did not belong to the old conflicts between alien civilizations. Meanwhile, the Void Dominion fleet reached the outer defenses of Illyrian. The first wave of attacks began. Energy weapons crossed the darkness of space. Defense satellites activated enormous shields around the planet. Thousands of Orales spacecraft launched from orbital stations. The galaxy watched, but the enemy had expected the Orales Empire to fight alone. They had not expected something else. Human technology. Using information from the ancient chamber, Kael discovered that the old alliance system could connect different technologies together. Human engineering and Orales energy systems could create something completely new. The military commanders were skeptical. You believe human machines can improve our defense network? Kael nodded, yes. The commander crossed his arms. Our civilization has studied technology for thousands of years. Kael looked at the damaged system. And yet this ancient machine has been sleeping under your palace the entire time. Nobody answered. Kael smiled slightly. I am not saying humans are better. I am saying maybe we are good at fixing things you stopped looking at. The queen approved the plan. For the next several hours, humans and Orales scientists worked together. Machines that had never communicated before began connecting. Human software merged with alien energy systems. Ancient technology awakened alongside modern inventions. The result was a new defense network unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. But the Void Dominion was already approaching. Their commander sent a message directly to Illyrian. A dark figure appeared above the Royal Command Center. The ancient alliance failed once. The figure looked at Kael. And now you believe a single human can change its fate. Kael stepped forward. He wanted to respond seriously. He really did. But after looking at the terrifying alien commander for several seconds, he finally said, I have to admit, your entrance was very dramatic. Everyone in the room stared at him. Kael whispered, I was trying to reduce the tension. The Void Commander looked confused. Nobody had ever responded to him that way. The transmission ended. Princess Serina looked at Kael. You challenged one of the most dangerous beings in the galaxy with humor. Kael shrugged. Sometimes people become less scary when you remind them they are also strange-looking. For the first time, even some soldiers smiled. But the battle was beginning. The Void Dominion launched its first attack. The skies of Illyrian burned with distant explosions. The ancient alliance had awakened. Humanity had entered a war it never expected. And standing beside the royal family was the most unlikely figure in the galaxy. A man who came to repair a machine. A man who never wanted to become a hero. A man who now carried the hope of two civilizations on his shoulders. The battle for Illyrian became the greatest conflict the galaxy had witnessed in thousands of years. Above the planet's atmosphere, countless spacecraft moved through the darkness of space. The ships of the Orales Empire formed a protective shield around the planet, while the ancient vessels of the Void Dominion advanced like shadows from a forgotten era. Energy weapons crossed the sky. Massive shields collided. Entire fleets moved like living creatures among the stars. But beneath the chaos, inside the ancient chamber beneath the royal palace, the final stage of the alliance system was beginning. Kael stood before the ancient crystal structure, surrounded by human engineers, Orales scientists, and royal technicians. Months ago, he had entered this palace as an ordinary repair engineer. Now, every civilization connected to Illyrian was waiting for his next decision. The situation was almost impossible to believe. Kael looked around the room. So, just to confirm, everyone is trusting the guy who accidentally broke a coffee machine on his first day at the palace to save an entire planet. A young scientist looked confused. You broke a coffee machine. Kael pointed at him. That is not the important part. The scientist looked at the others. It may actually be very important. Princess Serina smiled. You always underestimate yourself. Kael looked at her. I prefer realistic expectations. Serina shook her head. No, you are afraid of becoming someone important. The word surprised him, because she was right. Before arriving on Illyrian, Kael had never considered himself special. He repaired machines because machines were easier to understand than people. Broken engines had clear problems. Damaged systems had logical solutions. People were different. People carried emotions, memories, and fears. But during his journey, he had learned something important. Sometimes the greatest problems could not be repaired with tools. Sometimes they needed trust. The ancient crystal suddenly activated. The room filled with light. The alliance system connected with every human and Orales ship across the battlefield. A message appeared. Two civilizations, one purpose. The Void Dominion attacked with their strongest weapon. A massive energy cannon hidden inside their flagship charged toward Illyrian. The entire fleet prepared for destruction. But then something unexpected happened. The human ships moved beside the Orales vessels, not behind them, not beneath them, beside them. For the first time in centuries, two civilizations fought as one. The combined defense network activated. Human navigation systems guided Orales' energy weapons. Orales' shields protected human spacecraft. Ancient technology amplified modern inventions. The attack from the Void Dominion struck the combined shield. The entire galaxy held its breath. The shield survived. The Void Commander could not understand what happened. How? His voice echoed through the communication channels. You were divided. Queen Elyndra answered from the command ship. Not anymore. The enemy fleet continued attacking, but their greatest advantage had disappeared. They expected fear. They expected separation. They expected old conflicts to weaken their enemies. Instead, they found cooperation. The battle lasted for hours. Finally, Kael discovered the weakness inside the Void Dominion's ancient technology. Their systems were not stronger because they were advanced. They were stronger because nobody had understood how they worked. Kael smiled when he saw the data. Their technology is not unbeatable. A scientist looked at him. How do you know? Kael pointed at the information. Because they built it thousands of years ago. The scientist waited, and Kael smiled. Old machines have old problems. Using the ancient alliance system, Kael sent a signal into the enemy fleet. Instead of destroying their ships, he disabled their weapons. The massive war machines became powerless. The Void Commander watched his fleet fall silent. For the first time in centuries, his civilization faced defeat. But Kael did not destroy them. He opened a communication channel. The commander appeared again. "You will not execute us." Kael shook his head. "No." The commander looked surprised. "Why?" Kael thought about everything he had experienced. Because years ago, he would have chosen the simplest solution: destroy the threat, end the problem. But he was not that person anymore. Because if we only create more enemies, this war never ends. The commander remained silent. For the first time, the Void Dominion saw something they had forgotten: mercy. The war ended. The ancient enemy surrendered. And across the galaxy, the story of Illyrian spread. Not the story of a powerful warrior, not the story of a legendary king. The story of a human engineer who changed history by bringing people together. Months later, the royal palace of Illyrian was no longer the silent place it had once been. Scientists from different planets walked through its halls. Human engineers worked beside Orali's researchers. Old enemies shared knowledge. And Princess Serina was no longer the mysterious girl who hid from the galaxy. She became a symbol of a new era. She still kept her old notebook, but the pages had changed. The drawings of a stranger were replaced by memories. Kael repairing ancient machines. Kael laughing during impossible situations. Kael standing beside her beneath alien skies. One evening they stood together on the palace balcony looking at the endless stars. Kael smiled. "It is strange." Serina looked at him. "What is?" "You spent years drawing my face before meeting me." She nodded. "Yes. And now you finally know the real me." Serina smiled. "Yes." Kael looked toward the stars. "I hope the drawings were accurate." Serina thought for a moment. "Mostly." He looked surprised. "Mostly. You forgot one thing." "What?" She smiled. "You were always kinder than you looked." For once Kael had no joke. He simply looked at the galaxy that had once seemed impossibly large and distant. The same man who arrived on Illyrian searching for a repair job had discovered something greater than ancient technology or forgotten secrets. He had discovered that even an ordinary person could change the future. Deep beneath the palace, the ancient machine remained active, but it no longer waited for someone to arrive. Its purpose had been completed. The prophecy was not about a chosen warrior. It was about a connection. A human, an alien princess, two civilizations, one future. And as the stars continued shining over Illyrian, the galaxy entered a new age where no one looked at the universe as separate worlds anymore. They looked at it as one home.